Can I borrow the laptop from one of you guys? That's for presentation, the laptop.
Yeah, you got your laptop. Enjoy. Like when you hit it, it doesn't work, like literally there's no key there.
That's a crit side of Chris I did not need to see.
Make a joke.
All right, morning guys. So today we have guest speaker Ashley. So she has done a project through the Apex program. So one of the workshops that she has prepared is about loans, specifically student loans. So I asked her to have the presentation today for students, loans and the student loans, which is one of the topics that we cover in this course. So why I'm working on that, let me give you your homework back.
So hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a senior communications and sociology major. I have a internship with the Office of Student Affairs. I'm the financial literacy intern. And essentially what my job is that I create these financial literacy workshops to help gauge and improve student financial literacy on campus. I know you guys are taking a class in financial literacy, so a lot of this might be review or just basic stuff for you. So I don't think it's pointless though, because if anything else, you guys can help me if you guys know something that you've learned in this class that might be beneficial for other students to learn. That would be great. This presentation is going to be about 30 minutes, give or take. I ask that you keep questions to the end, just because I double back a lot on information, so I'll probably answer any questions. But you guys are taking a class on it, so you might not have any. This is a very basic workshop. It's just to give students an idea of basically what to know, just so they have the hang of understanding after graduating Alfred. If I ever get to pull up. So what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to be talking about how much debt we're in as college students, some basic loan terminology, how to find out how much you owe on federal loans, different repayment plans and what to do if you're having trouble repaying on your loans, and then how to prepare for paying after you graduate from Alfred. So to start off, we're going to talk about how much debt we're actually in as college students. So the average undergraduate student will graduate with $28,400 in student loans. This doesn't take into effect people who go to graduate school. This is also a mixture of private universities, state universities, and community colleges. That can be low or high. I thought it was kind of low personally, but so basically we're in a lot of debt. So I want to break down this number of who's behind this, like who actually has this debt. So approximately 4 in 10 people who go to college will have to take out a loan of some kind to pay for school. Women hold roughly 2/3 of all debt, but this also can be attributed to the fact that we make up 56% of the college population. But generally, women will go into debt, are more likely to go into debt, and they're more likely to go into more debt than their male counterpart. In the U.S., there's a total of $1.5 trillion in student debt. This makes up more than credit card debt. This makes up more than auto loan debt. So we are in a lot of debt as students. Of all the people who are in debt, 20% of borrowers are behind on payments. 1/5 is a pretty large number considering how many people are in debt and how much debt we're in. It's not good to be behind on payments. But the point of all this information is that we're not alone, we're all in debt. So just by a raise of hand, who here is taking out a loan of some kind to pay for school? So a good amount of people. So a lot of people are in debt and we're in a lot of debt. So this is important information to know, or at least just to be aware of. So essentially what I'm going to be talking about today is loans, essentially from start to finish. Like I said, this is just going to be a basic understanding of loans. So we're not going to go into too much depth in each subject, but we're just going to talk a little bit about it. To start off, we're going to talk about FAFSA. If you're taking out a loan, you've already filled out FAFSA, so we're only going to talk about it briefly, but I think it's important to mention, and I don't think it hurts to. So FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It determines your eligibility for both state and federal financial programs. In order to continue getting FAFSA, you have to apply for it every year. It opens on October 1st, and you have to complete it by the last day of the semester that you're enrolled in for the academic year. This essentially means that if the student's only enrolled in the fall semester, you have to have your application submitted by the last day of the fall term. When you apply to FAFSA, you can accept all of the aid, you can accept none of the aid, or you can accept some of it. It's kind of up to you and your financial situation. You're not stuck to it, so people can always apply for free and then turn down all of it. You don't have to take anything. So that's FAFSA. So after you get offered your aid, you can accept it. So in order to accept your aid and for it to be dispersed, you have to sign a master promissory note, or an MPN. Essentially, an MPN is a written and signed promise by you to your lender that you're going to pay back your loans. Yeah, so it's going to outline your rights and your responsibilities as a borrower. It's going to provide you different instructions for deferment, repayment, and capitalization of interest. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to go over it in a little bit. But that's your master promissory note. It's essentially your contract between you and your lender saying that you're going to pay it back, and that they can come after you if you don't. So I just want to talk about some loan basics, because if you don't know the basics, you're not really going to understand what your NPN is saying. So the amount that you're paying on your loans is broken down into two parts. You have your principal and your interest. So your principal amount is essentially how much you're taking out. So if you take out a loan for $2,000, $2,000 is your principal. The interest is the fee you pay for taking out the loan. So it's important to know that any unpaid interest that you have on a loan, it can be capitalized. So essentially what that means is that unpaid interest gets added to your principal amount. So if you say, so let's say you have $200 in unpaid interest and it gets capitalized, that $200 is going to be added to the $2,000. So you're essentially going to be, it's going to look as though you're taking out $2,200 when you're really not. So essentially you're going to be paying interest on your interest. To avoid this, I'm going to talk about this again later, but to avoid this, you can pay off any unpaid interest while you're in school or during your grace period. Like, it's good practice to be paying off some of your loans now. I know that's more idealistic rather than realistic, because a lot of us don't have the funds to be paying off loans right now. But it's just important to keep in mind. Your annual percentage rate, or your APR, is essentially how much it costs for you to borrow for 1 year, written as a percentage. Generally, a lower APR is better than a higher APR, because you're going to be paying less in interest. Your APR includes your interest costs and any additional fees that are related to your loan. So the term of your loan is generally the time it takes you from when you graduate college, or you're no longer enrolled at half-time, and until you pay off the entirety of your loan. If you're having trouble repaying your loan, you can often extend your term, but in extending your term, you're going to be paying lower monthly costs, but you're going to be paying that for longer, so you're going to be paying more in interest. So it's generally a trade-off. Do you want to pay higher payments now and get it paid off faster and pay low interest, or do you want lower payments to pay it off longer but spend more in the long term? Outstanding student loans, or any loans that currently have a remaining balance. So there's two general types of federal loans. There's subsidized and unsubsidized. So subsidized loans, the government will pay for your interest while you're in school. Unsubsidized, the government does not. So if you're taking out an unsubsidized loan right now, if interest is accruing on it, like I said, unpaid interest can be capitalized. Yeah, so it's collecting interest. Your grace period is the time between when you graduate college or you're no longer enrolled at least half time, so if you drop out, and when you have to start making payments back on your loans. For federal staffers, so that's your unsubsidized and your subsidized loans, that's 6 months. For a Perkins loan or an alumni loan, that's 9 months. For private loans, it depends on your loan, it depends on your lender, so if you're taking out a private loan, it's good to contact them to see when you're going to have to start making payments. That's just important to know so that you can plan for after you graduate. You can find out that information on your NPN, you can find it at your lender's website, or for federal loans, you can find it on the National Student Loan Data System. So there's two different types of loans. We're mainly going to be talking about federal loans today because it's like an umbrella that most of us can apply to, where private loans, it depends on your lender and it depends on the loan, so it just varies a lot. But generally for federal loans, they're going to have lower interest rates and more favorable repayment terms than, say, a private loan will. But one of the downsides of a federal loan is that you're very limited in what you can take out. So whatever you're offered in your FAFSA package, that's the maximum you can take out. So it's a fixed rate. You can't really increase the amount you're taking out in federal loans. Whereas private loans, you can receive those through a bank or a financial institution like Sallie Mae. They have generally more favorable terms than a general consumer loan, and you can take out a higher amount, but you have to have usually a credit-worthy cosigner on that loan. Cosigners are essentially equally as responsible for the loan and paying back that loan as the person who takes it out. So you should be very careful who you cosign loans for, because if that person, or if you who has a cosigner misses payments or you go into default, that your credit as well as the person who cosigns credit is all going to be impacted, and collection agencies can go after the both of you. So it's just important to know like the risks of co-signing a loan. One of the most important things you should know about private loans is don't take out more than you need to. If you only need $5,000, that's all you should take out. You shouldn't go over that amount. A lot of students take out more to pay for, like I know a lot of students, but you take it out extra to pay for your rent or to pay for a car, and essentially you're going to be paying back more money on those things. You're not even technically supposed to be paying for anything except for education with your private loans, so you can get in trouble doing that. But I think that's one of the biggest problems with students is taking out more than you need to and then staying in debt for longer than you need to. Yeah, so now we're going to talk about how to track your federal loans. So if you're taking out a federal loan of some kind, you should know where to find the details of that loan. So you can find that out through the National Student Loan Data System. That's the NSLDS, and that's also the website. This database is going to break down each individual federal loan by the type, when the date you borrowed it, the lender of each loan, the contact information for any questions regarding repaying your loan. You can log into this site using your FSA ID. This is the ID you created when you filled out FAFSA. If you didn't fill out FAFSA and you had a parent or guardian fill it out or a guidance counselor, you should get this information. It's pretty simple to log in. You just put in your ID and it just shows you all of your loans. You don't have to look for them. It just gives them all to you. If you don't know how much you're taking out in loans, it's important to know because this site will also tell you your expected payments that you're going to have to make on those loans. So it's just important to be aware of how you can find out that information if you don't already know it. So repayment plans. There is a lot of different repayment plans that you can choose for paying back your loans. You don't have to stick to one. An important thing to know is that you can always refinance. So whether you have just graduated from college or whether you're 10 years down the line paying your loans, you can always adjust your payments and change your payment plan to whatever meets your needs. If you are having trouble repaying your loans, just know that there's always an option for you. I'm just going to break these down really quickly. A standard repayment loan. This applies to all federal loans. You pay a fixed amount each month until the loans are paid in full. You have up until 10 years to pay off the entirety of the loan. A graduated plan, your payments start out lower and then they increase. So if you're expecting to get a lower salary at first, but then you're expecting it to increase, this is a better plan for you. You have up to, well, the payments are going to increase every 2 years for this, about. The extended plan, you have minimum monthly payments and you have up to 25 years to repay this. Your payments can be fixed or graduated, so you can have a fixed amount or you can have an increase over time. And to qualify, you have to have borrowed at least $30,000 in debt, so more than the average, essentially. Income-based, it applies if you meet certain financial hardship conditions. It sets an upper limit on the amount you have to pay each month. The monthly payments are based on what's affordable to you according to your income and according to your family size. After you repay this for 25 years, if you meet all the requirements, the remaining balance on your loans will all be forgiven. Pay as you earn, it applies only to federal direct loans. It's similar to the income-based, except it's canceled after 20 years. Revised pay, it allows you to cap your monthly payments at only 10% of your discretionary income. Income contingent, it applies to direct subsidized and unsubsidized only. It's designed for low-income borrowers. You have to qualify for it. Your monthly payments are based on your gross income, your family size, and the total amount of loans you're taking out. And lastly, the income sensitive. This is similar to the income contingent, except it's for the FFEL programs only. But essentially, all of these will depend on your current financial situation. So like not everyone is going to have the same plan that works for them. One of them may work better for you than the other. So when you get like closer to paying off your loans or graduating college, you should look into how much you owe and how these will play into how you owe. Also, if you're having trouble repaying and managing your loans, you can look into loan consolidation. Essentially what loan consolidation is that you're merging all of your loans together and combining them into one loan with one monthly payment. So instead of paying for multiple loans and multiple different checks, you're just paying for one. It's important to know though that once you consolidate your loans, you can't unconsolidate them, so it's irreversible. You're stuck with that decision. Loan consolidation has its pros and its cons. It is easier and more manageable when you consolidate, but you may end up paying significantly more over time because it might give you a higher interest rate. And you may lose some of the benefits from your original repayment plan. So for example, you could lose principal rebates, interest rate discounts, and cancellation benefits. So if you had chosen a repayment plan that had cancellation after so many years, you could lose that by consolidating. But if you are looking into consolidating, you just want to compare it to your own financial situation again, all of this depends on where you're at and what can work for you. Another option that you have for having trouble with repayment is deferment and forbearance. So both deferment and forbearance offer temporary relief from making your loan payments. So deferment postpones loan payments for up to 3 years or until after you have graduated or left school. While you're in school, there's no maximum for deferment. So for example, I went to Niagara University for my freshman year and then I transferred here. When I was at Niagara, I was taking out a Perkins loan. I didn't get offered a Perkins loan here, so I've been in deferment for that loan my entire time at Alfred. For deferment, no interest is going to collect on your subsidized loan or any of just your subsidized loan, but it does accumulate on your unsubsidized and your plus loans. If you don't qualify for deferment, you might qualify for forbearance. So forbearance is very similar to deferment in that it reduces, postpones, or extends the time you have to make your loan payments. It has the same 3-year limit as a deferment does. Interest will accumulate on all of your loans instead of just your unsubsidized and your plus loans. So you're going to be collecting interest continually. And like I said, unpaid interest does get capitalized, so that's important to be aware of if you do go into forbearance. Deferment and forbearance are intended as a last resort kind of thing, but do know that there are options. So if you do need to use a deferment or forbearance, like that's fine, whatever works for you. Delinquency and default, I'm going to play a video for you. But when you're paying back your loans, if you're having trouble repaying, the worst thing you could possibly do is skip a payment. So if you are having trouble repaying, don't skip a payment. You should be contacting your lender. You should be looking into other repayment plans. How do I get the volume up? Well, the volume isn't going up there, so I'll just explain what it is. So, it's going great. So essentially, delinquency is when you miss a payment, and default is when you miss payments for 270 consecutive days. If you miss a payment, it does hurt your credit, and it does worry your lenders, and so they'll start coming after you if you miss a payment, and will start to affect your credit, like I said. If you go into default, it's probably the worst thing you can do because, well, collection agencies are going to start coming after you. Your credit is going to take a huge hit. They could garnish your wages in order to pay back what you owe. the entire unpaid balance on your loan, so let's say you still owe $20,000, if you go into default, you immediately owe that $20,000 and you owe it now. So default is the worst case scenario, and odds are you're not going to go into default, but it's just important to be aware that skipping your payments does run the risk of going into default. So just don't miss your payments. So for very few of us, we may actually get our loans forgiven. There are a couple different programs that you can go through, teachers, and as well as there's the public service forgiveness program. So essentially, if you're a government employee on the local, state, or federal level, you can qualify for loan forgiveness if you make consistent payments for an extended period of time. They do have a lot of contingencies built into these loan forgiveness programs. So if you do expect to go into expect to work for the government, you should look into this loan forgiveness program, like consolidating your loans. I'm pretty sure that if you do that, you're not going to qualify for it. If you miss a payment, you're not going to qualify for it. So if you do intend to go and work for the government, this is something you should look into, so that just to see if you can qualify for it. So a few repayment tips for when you start paying back your loans. You should be planning for how to pay back your loans. You should know how much you're paying. So if you don't know how much you're paying, you can look that up in the National Student Federal Loan System. And then you should also be making a budget so that you're able to pay back those loans after graduating college, and making sure you're able to afford those payments. You can automate so that you can make it so that your loan payment comes automatically out of your bank account each month. This is to ensure that you don't miss any payments, but it's also important to make sure that you have enough money in your account so that when it is automatically taken out, you're not overdrawing. You can pay extra. So if you have the funds to do so, you can pay more than the amount that's due to pay off faster. You should put the extra amount towards your principal or your unpaid interest. You can also consolidate. If consolidation works for you, it might be a really great idea. If it doesn't, then you shouldn't do it. But just looking into it and knowing that's an option might help you out in the future. So preventative measures to make sure that you don't go into default and you don't go into delinquency. So you should plan for a stable income. You should be meeting with the CDC to build your resume and to be finding a job for after you graduate college. You can also start saving money now, so putting money away now so that you're able to pay off when your loans roll around is great. For example, I have an online savings account that I'm putting money towards, and in that account I'm using those funds to pay off my first couple monthly payments, so that regardless of whether I get a job after graduating, I know that I have enough money to pay off at least the first few payments. Also, like I said before, you should be trying to pay off any unpaid interest now. This will save you a lot of money down the road. It's one of the most essential things you can do. I know a lot of us don't have a lot of disposable income to just pay off unpaid interest, but if you have an extra $20 at the end of the month, anything that you put towards it will save you a lot of money in the long run. You can also create a budget and learn how to balance your income and your expenses. I have an entire workshop that I created about how to budget, if you're interested. But a budget can help you meet personal goals, prepare for emergencies, stay out of debt, keep accurate and up-to-date records, and prepare you for long-term financial planning. So making a budget now, learning how to budget can help you plan for when you have more income than expenses when you graduate. A lot of us don't have a lot of expenses right now, but we will when we graduate. So just learning how to do it now will help. I have a quick reflection for you. I just want to know, basically, if you found this workshop helpful and anything that you might have learned or anything that you think would actually help. I also have a handout that goes over pretty much all the information that I've gone over today. I don't know if you learned about all of this or not in this class. If you want it, I'd love to give it to you. If you don't, that's fine. But thank you, guys. Anything that you write is helpful. If you don't want to write a lot, just anything you put down will be great. You can take it. Just like that. you don't have to write an essay or anything, just something.
Can I ask you a question? So you talked about different repayment plans. So are they have the same APR or they have a different?
It'll,
they might have.
it'll depend a lot on what type of loans you are taking out, and then the repayment plan, so a lot's gonna go into your APR, as well as your credit score, so.
So after they borrow the loan, so for the repayment plan, you talked about 7 or 8 different repayment plans. So are they gonna have the same amount of APR for the same loan that you borrowed?
No, depending on the plan, you're gonna get a different APR.
Okay, but even for the repayment plan, you will get a different APR.
Some of them might have the same, but generally might have different.
And what would be the range of APR and typically
Around 5,
finance?
it'll vary, but around there, a little bit higher, a little lower. Would anyone like the handout that just goes over all the information from today?